This is, I think, by far going to be the most energetic discussion today. The reason is that so far we've been talking about the mechanical, the functional part, which is really about getting ourselves into electrification, doing some things that are really involved in getting these vehicles, more vehicles out there. This part of the panel is about the connected vehicles. And the fact is that as was, in the preamble just mentioned, the focus on connected vehicles has always been on cars and on commercial vehicles. But the real volumes are on two-wheelers. And why is it that two-wheelers doesn't have the same kind of attention that four-wheelers have? And that's primarily because of the fact that, you always have your hands on the vehicle. And to be able to connect it and keep yourself distracted is one of the biggest challenges in trying to connect the two-wheeler so that your focus remains on driving safely, not just for yourself, but also for other pedestrians and other vehicles on the road. So that has been a challenge. However, getting that vehicle smarter has been driven to a large extent by safety. It has also been driven by the fact that more and more, the user profile of such drivers is they are perpetually connected against their mobile phones. And even that little disconnect that they're taking while they're riding the bikes is something that gets them anxiety. So it's more than range anxiety, it's that I'm not connected to the world anymore. So the fact that remaining connected on two-wheelers is such a major challenge, it makes it that bigger an opportunity. And that's where the panel that we have today, I think you couldn't have asked for a better panel. Why? Because connecting two-wheelers is not just for drivers. It has created a whole new business model. It has created a whole new category that possibly didn't exist before. And because of this connectivity that is happening on two-wheelers, you are actually beginning to see more and more two-wheelers coming even in the developed markets. You are now having e-scooters. Now you're having kick scooters. And why has that been made possible? Because two-wheelers have always been the preferred last mile and first mile means of transport. If we really want to, look at the environmental consciousness, we want to get into smarter mobility, or we want to really challenge the mobility model that we've got so far by having personal vehicles, two-wheelers can make a big difference because they form the connectivity between public transport and that empowerment that you need to get and the convenience that you need to your end destination. So with that, I would now like to, I don't think I want to put too much time in introducing everyone. You all have their details, and I'm sure you would know about their organizations. So I'm going to jump straight to it and get into some of the questions that really, I think all of us should really look at with great interest, because not only are they opportunities, but they are extremely disruptive. So first point I would like to say is that now, with connectivity, we have now the ability to track vehicles. We have the ability to lock, unlock vehicles. Therefore, having the ability to rent out, hire out by the hour, by the minute, in such details which can be tracked on an application on your smartphone has just made not owning a two-wheeler possible. It's not that a two-wheeler is an aspiration. Yes, they are performance two-wheelers. But when it just comes to mobility requirements, you don't really want to own that vehicle. You want to get to your point, you want to do it conveniently, you want to do it easily. And that's what connectivity has done. So first, I like to the lady in our panel, Ayushi. You're at Bounce. And Bounce has gone through a tremendous amount of pivoting, right? You started off with bikes, and then you went into e-scooters, and I think that's the model that you have now stabilized on. And I think in the few months that you've been in, started off in Bangalore, the number of miles that your users have clocked in is now at 60,000 rides per day. Is that right?
We touched 70 last week. So yes.
All right. Okay. And you, in this kind of things, how many miles do you think you would have driven altogether?
I believe we made it, we actually made it moon trips. So if you take it one way, about 40 moon trips. Or about, I believe we are clocking at 6 million kilometers right now.
Now, can you share with us what made that kind of scale possible?
connectivity is the issue, is the answer, and the biggest issue we are trying to solve here is convenience. You have to make sure that you may have the best solution in the world, but if your customer doesn't see your solution as something that's convenient and something that's cost effective, he or she is not going to pick it up. So as you started off, we have clocked in those many trips with about 7,000 vehicles on the road. So you have to realize that each scooter every day is being used by close to 8 to 10 customers. So ensuring that our operations team can make sure that there's enough fuel, there's enough air in those vehicles, there's enough sort of battery in those vehicles. It's not just about electric vehicles, but even for a normal scooter. And these scooters are keyless. So ensuring that once a customer is booking the scooter on the app, that he or she can go and actually dial in that OTP and have the scooter started. Ensuring there are helmets and there's a basic maintenance of each of these trips is extremely important. So solving the connectivity aspect of those scooters has been the core of what we do. We are a technology company in the end of the day, trying to ensure that mobility is seen as a fundamental right and we can give a convenient, cost-effective solution to the customers to move across India.
So what's the next level for Bounce?
Next level is one, of course, scaling it across India. And next is electric vehicles. How could we make sure that these convenient, affordable trips are clean as well? So ensuring that would be something that's sort of in the closer long term.
So if you needed something to facilitate that, what would be your ask to the stakeholders, the government? Is it a policy? Is it a sort of a product issue? Is it a technology enablement and connectivity issues to the services? Cost?
I think operations is what it comes down to. Of course, I can say things like having cheaper electric vehicles, having more subsidies, having better policy. I think India has made a lot of movement over the last 10 months when it comes to FAME 2 policies and other electric vehicle policies. But how can we operationally make sure that there is enough electric sort of battery charge for each of those trips to happen in the end of the day? And we do have about 1,000 vehicles out of those close to 7,000 scooters that are electric as of today. So testing out and understanding what kind of battery sort of charging infrastructure needs to be there on the back end is extremely important. So figuring out the operations, again, to make sure that convenience is there for the customer, because the customer just wants to get from point A to B. He or she doesn't care if it's electric, ethanol, petrol, whatever it may be. So ensuring that trip is convenient.
And what would be the average trip kilometer-wise of such
It's
users?
between 7 to about 9.5 kilometers.
Okay. And you said 60,000 rides with about 1,000 vehicles, right? And about 6 to 7?
About 7,000.
7,000 vehicles in Bangalore
Yes.
itself. Okay. So now, that means to say that one bike could be used by about 10 people in a day? Now look at the use of that asset. And look at the fact that in the 7,000, otherwise there would have been 70,000 two-wheelers extra on the road. So this idea of saying that these are providing more congestion, I would start to argue that we have started to maximize the use of that asset much further so that the realization is far more than what it would have if you had individual users. So the fact that such patterns are enabled because of connectivity, the convenience is there, the monitoring is there, the analytical ability to monitor and become more and more efficient and reduce costs down and therefore make the cost per mile even lower is becoming a preferred choice for using public transport, which is what I think all of us have realized in this country, that Bangalore has become a great case study to see how public transport can be a major enabler in this current society, which is getting more and more empowered and enabled through connected solutions. Would I be right in saying that? Or any questions on that part? Does anybody in the panel have a different view that connectivity is bringing about better usage of public transport?
I would just add, over the last sort of 10 months since we've been in existence, all these 60,000 trips I'm talking about 40% of them start or end at metro stations. So that's been another huge business model where BMRCL, Bangalore Metro themselves want to ensure that their customers have easy access to affordable last mile solutions to get to and from metros.
So now let's ask another founder of another mobile, shared mobile in this economy. So, Akash, MobiC, right? And you started off first as MobiQuick, right, on the payment systems. So I think in this model, the cost and the ticket is smaller, right? And to have an efficient way to collect it, as well as a secure way to collect it, as while you're giving and handing over an asset which is much more than the price of the ticket. That would have been a challenge, right? Tell us, how have you managed? And you've been in Gurgaon, right? Which we all know has its own rules, right? And some of its own I would say, user idiosyncrasies. So let's hear from you how you feel connectivity has enabled your business.